us this morning. We do have a great speaker this morning that we'll introduce in just a moment. But we're glad that you're here joining us today. There are a couple of areas after our speaker that we're also going to ask for your input, a couple of projects. So we'll get to that too. And with that, let me go ahead and turn it over. I should introduce myself for those of you who I haven't met. I'm Barry Gribbins. I'm the co-chair with Donna, and I'm the president of LA Valley College as my day job. Let me turn it over to you, Donna, so you can introduce our amazing guest speaker this morning.
Absolutely. Thank you, Barry. Good morning, everyone. My name is Donna Ferrugia, and I'm the president of Equus Staffing in Calabasas. And it is my pleasure to welcome and to introduce our speaker and our distinguished guest, Shannon Sedgwick. Shannon is the director of the LAEDC Institute for Applied Economics. In this capacity, she oversees and executes the planning and design of economic research projects and develops subject-specific information and data interpretation for economic impact, demographic, workforce development, transportation, industry, and issues studies. She performs research, data collection and organization, analysis, and report preparation, in addition to managing a team of economists. Her work focuses on demographics, industry clusters and contribution analysis, and occupational analysis. She is a principal contributor to the Center for a Competitive Workforce reports prepared for the community colleges in California and local workforce development boards. Shannon, we were just speaking before we all joined. Shannon will be celebrating 15 years in just a few months with the LAEDC. She joined in 2008, and she serves in both economic research and the consulting practice through her career. She has done, like I said, data collection and research, managed multiple data sets covering the state of California, Southern California, all the counties, and all of our sub-regions. Before joining, such a long time ago, Shannon, before joining the LAEDC, she managed, and this would be an interesting thing to talk about offline, but she managed an industrial and steel supply company in the Inland Empire, where she successfully grew revenues and increased business. That would be fascinating to hear about your experience there. But a Southern California native, Shannon received her Bachelor of Arts in Economics from USC, with a minor in architecture. She is a member of the national chapter of the National Association for Business Economics and the American Economic Association. And in all her free time, she is actively involved with local animal rescue organizations as a foster, and she volunteers annually as a mentor to undergraduate students selected for the USC Dornsife Gateway Internship Program, another amazing program. So please, everyone, join me in welcoming Shannon Sedgwick. Shannon, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you, Donna. Thank you for that introduction. And the industrial steel supply seems like a lifetime ago, but was actually very valuable in providing context as I'm looking into heavy industry and such. So it's great. So it's always a pleasure to work with the team at Valley Economic Alliance, and I want to take a minute just to thank all of you joining us today too for this talk. So for those who are unfamiliar with the LAEDC Institute of Applied Economics, we're a very small team that's dedicated to providing objective and unparalleled economic and policy expertise to decision makers with critical information from which to make informed decisions. So it's in this way that the Institute supports the LAEDC in achieving their mission of reinventing our economy to collaboratively advance growth and prosperity for all. So I'm going to take a few minutes to go over some Valley-specific data with you today, and additionally, The LAEDC just released its 2023 annual economic forecast last week, so I'll be sharing a few of the key findings from that as well. So let's get started. Erica?
Is it up there?
It is, and you
Oh,
can pass. You can skip to the next.
Oh, the
one.
next one? Sure.
Yeah.
Sorry about that.
Oh, no worries.
Let me figure out. Oops, sorry. There you go.
So just a quick overview of the San Fernando Valley to understand a little bit about it and the people who live within it and the industry that's there. So there's a population of 1.8 million. The most recent census data have a population of 1.8 million. The median age is 38.4 years. Median household income is close to 79,000. There's an individual poverty rate of 12.9%. Population of 16 years and over, so that's basically working age population. Those that are employable, 1.5 million. Actual civilian employment, we've got 927,000 and an unemployment rate in 2021 of 7.4%. So those are just a few top line numbers to give some context to the conversation. And then next. Was there a map? Was there a slide with a map in there? Okay. So the valley, you know, there's some key cities within the San Fernando Valley, which includes Glendale, Calabasas, the city of San Fernando. And so as we go through this presentation, I pulled out some key data points for each of those large cities. You know, it was just, I think last year I actually came and presented to the Valley Economic Alliance, and it was really focusing in on some of the industries that were in the Valley and how they were being impacted by the pandemic at the time. Now we are, you know, it's a workforce development committee meeting, and so I wanted to flip it a little bit and focus more on resident workers and some of the real-time employer demands as we go through. So I wanted to start off with highlighting that of the working residents in the San Fernando Valley, that predominantly they're all full-time workers. Close to a quarter do not work, and about 19% they work on a part-time basis, so they work less than 34 hours. So of those working residents, 2021, you can see that most of them are commuting via car, so that leads to a lot of congestion. But I wanted to highlight that there's 12.3% that were working from home remotely completely last year in 2021, the most recent data. Next slide, please. When we look at the composition of industries by employment in the Valley, and then compare that to the employment distribution for the county, you see that there's areas of specialization. So there's a concentration of industry that are higher in the information industry sector, which includes your motion picture, you know, TV and film production and sound recording. It also includes telecommunications. You see a high share of education and health services. You see a high share of professional and business services. So those are the largest by employment within the Valley, and you can compare and contrast with the distribution across the county. So you see when it comes to the information sector, you know, it represents close to a quarter of all San Fernando Valley payroll employment versus just 8% countywide. So it's a very dominant industry in the area. Next. So in our forecast, we took a look at what was happening with employment, and essentially we're in this transition, in this phase where top line employment has returned to pre-pandemic levels, and now we're kind of moving beyond the recovery. But we do want to point out that just because the total employment is back to pre-pandemic levels, it doesn't mean that the composition of industries or that the growth that has taken place in are in the same industries that lost those jobs. So there's been a bit of a shuffling. So we're noticing that much of the growth that led us back to these pre-pandemic levels at a high level are taking place in knowledge-based industries, while a lot of your service industries and tourism-based industries are still kind of feeling the effects and haven't recovered. So the slide on, or the chart on the right of this slide, it shows the change in jobs by industry for the county using the February 2020, which was the last month before the restrictive health orders took effect, using that as the baseline, so measuring the change. So the gray bars on the top, those are jobs added beyond that pre-pandemic level, and the red bars on the left, those are the jobs that have fallen beyond that pre-pandemic level. Those haven't been recovered. Yes, information employment does include film and television. Yes. So we see that the recovery of jobs is taking place in San Fernando Valley too. So when we're looking at some of the key cities in the valley, you see that we had the massive disruption in 2020. We were starting recovery in 2021. And that growth in employment was compounded in 2022, and now we're hovering just above what we were in pre-pandemic for our unemployment rate. So in December of 2022, which is the most recent data available at the sub-county level, unemployment rates, they're ranging between 3.8% in San Fernando to 5.8% in Calabasas. And that's compared to 4.8% to 7.3% in 2021, previous year. Next slide. This is where you can do a comparison of the annual unemployment rate across the different cities and see where that stacks up with Los Angeles County. So you see that 2020 was the pain point again. We started recovery in 2021, and in 2022. Still more growth, but not quite. Each city's experience based upon the composition of industry was different. And so you see some that had lower unemployment rates prior to the pandemic that now are still kind of hovering above. So there's a little bit of a change there that's still continuing. Next slide. So I wanted to look at real-time employer demand through job postings. So one of the, as we're having these discussions and preparing our work when we're talking to folks in the workforce development world, they want to understand, what are employers looking for? What are they actually doing? Who are they hiring? Are they hiring? They see these industry numbers and they're just not sure how that translates. It seems a little bit removed. So what can they get from this real-time on-the-ground activity? So we like to use job postings data to gain another level of insight. It also is an indication of what's to come in our actual job estimate figures. So if we start seeing declines in the job postings, then that's precipitating a potential decline in the job figures that are coming out on an monthly or quarterly basis. So we looked at total job postings, monthly job postings from January of 2019 to January of 2023. It's the most recent monthly data available. The gray is Los Angeles County, so you can see the movement happening there. And the blue, we have the city of Burbank, city of Glendale, and the city of Calabasas. And you can see that Burbank is showing a decline in the number of job postings. So it may mean that job growth is slowing. Glendale is kind of looks a bit flat from the last few months. So it may be in a holding pattern, or may start a decline if it's mirroring some of what the other areas are doing. And then Calabasas has kind of got a little bit of a bounce going there. And so we can take a look at not only how hiring dried up during the pandemic, but also how it's been growing based upon the collection of this job postings data. Next. So those were total job posting figures, but there's information available by occupation, there's information available by industry. So we wanted to take a look at the top occupations that were adding jobs, that were advertising jobs to fill payrolls. So we took a look at, and actually most of them tracked with what was happening countywide. So of course we see registered nurses at ranking #1 across all geographic areas on the slide. In Burbank, we see software developers. As being #2. Software developers are also in Glendale, but they rank #4. And so retail sales is ranking #2 in Glendale. So there's a little bit of a shifting, but kind of the same roles that you're seeing. You know, marketing managers again in Burbank. We've got the only one that we don't see, which is a good thing, is customer service rep. So that's really prominent in LA County. But we're not seeing those represented in these 3 cities in the valley, which is a good thing because customer service reps aren't necessarily high wage jobs. Next slide, please. So those were the top 5 occupations with the most advertisements, but this looks at the breakout of all job postings by industry. So to make the chart a little cleaner, anything that is 1% share or less, or not designated as attached to a specific industry, is in another category. And where, by doing that and cleaning that up, we can see the industries that we're really trying to hire the most people. And so we've got admin support, waste management, and remediation. We have information, which again is motion picture and television and telecommunications, healthcare, social assistance, professional, scientific, and technical services. So those are a lot of your knowledge-based industries like engineering, legal services, accounting, retail trade, accommodation, and manufacturing. So that's in the city of Burbank. The total job postings in last year in the city of Burbank almost reached 40,000. And the top 5 companies with the most job postings throughout the year included Disney, Providence, Warner Media, CBS Corporation, and Robert Half. Next slide, please. This is the same information broken out for the city of Calabasas, and this one we cleaned up the slide with a 2% other. And so we see here retail trade had 12% of all job postings, healthcare and social assistance 11%, admin support, waste management, and remediation with 10%, professional and technical services, and manufacturing. Here we have finance, and again we have information, your leisure and hospitality, which is accommodation and food services, and education. So Harbor Freight Tools is one of the top hiring companies here. Cedar Sinai, Boeing, Live Nation, and planetart.com.
Their headquarters. Yeah. That's right.
Next slide. And this is that same breakout for the city of Glendale. And again, this is anything higher than 2% is listed on its own distinct pie slice. So healthcare and social assistance, admin support, information, retail trade, finance and insurance, and professional and technical services, leisure, hospitality, and manufacturing. So here we've got NBC, we've got Disney, Elevance Health, Adventist Health, and Common Spirit Health. Next slide. So you saw some commonalities in the top industries that were looking to add to their payrolls based on their job postings. And those dovetail with the largest industries that exist within the valley, but also fit right into what we expect to be the sectors that have the largest growth in the county. So this is our forecast that we put together between 2022 to 2024. And we're expecting that education and health services, professional business services, and information, and then construction and natural resources, those will all be adding jobs. Again, high representation of knowledge-based industries. And then we see manufacturing, which has been on a long-term sectoral decline across the county. So while it's showing some strength within the San Fernando Valley, other parts of the county aren't faring as well, and so you see some job loss anticipated there. Again, when it comes to manufacturing, I like to remind everybody that just because they're losing jobs doesn't mean that they're losing their prominence in our economy. Their productivity has grown exponentially over the same period that they've lost those jobs. And so I think the last time I actually looked, they were still contributing something like, I think it was between 8 to 12% of our GDP was still related to manufacturing in the county. So that's why it's always important to have context to data. Next slide, please. So in our forecast, we did see some themes, and as I mentioned, the recovery of total employment is complete, but there's these longer lasting changes that have happened as a result of the pandemic, and now we're moving into this new paradigm. And so some of the things that we've observed is shifts in industrial employment distribution. There's a changing face of commercial real estate as people aren't returning back to these central business districts, and companies are downsizing and office vacancy rates are going up. We're seeing a continued vulnerability of small businesses. They were disproportionately impacted during the pandemic just because of the industries in which they tend to operate were impacted the most. Additionally, smaller businesses didn't have a lot of the same financial resources to weather the storm, so to speak. Now they're facing a new set of challenges with inflation, leading to increased costs, difficulty finding workers, and this looming threat of a potential recession. So there's a lot for our small businesses to face. Their vulnerability does continue. When we looked at, I think you've probably heard the narrative of how labor force, has declined, the participation has declined. When we actually looked at it, we broke it out by demographic characteristics, and we were finding that the labor force exodus was really happening based upon educational attainment. So those with lower levels of educational attainment, specifically high school level education, were the ones that left the labor force. And in fact, the only group to increase their labor force participation were individuals with a bachelor's degree or higher. So population declines. That's another factor that's going to impact that can impact our labor force. So California, Los Angeles County, the city of Los Angeles, they've been experiencing declines in their population. Those were accelerated during the pandemic, and that's can be a variety of factors influencing those things, including the high cost of living here. And as work schedules became more flexible, you had some people moving out of the area or taking the opportunity during the disruption to move out of state, change careers, etc. So looking ahead, as a county, we see a lot of planned federal and state investment, and so that's providing optimism. We've got the SURF program, which LAEDC is a regional convener for Los Angeles County. It's a community economic resiliency fundings that's earmarked for programs and projects to achieve equitable growth in sustainable industries and efforts. So if you're interested, we have a whole web page that explains that. If you want to engage with us, you're more than welcome. There are some funding opportunities that go through along with that too. And of course, the infrastructure bill and all of those projects, as they come online, they're going to add a little bit of resiliency in the event of a downturn and maybe contribute to some growth if we avoid a recession. So that's a quick recap of where we stand in the county. Next. So the question of, well, are we going to have a recession, right? That's been on everyone's mind, and you know, the Federal Reserve has been combating inflation with a series of mega rate hikes. We had 7 of them last year, another one this year. And so we have persistently high inflation, and that leads to fears that the efforts being taken by the Fed could result in a policy overcorrection. As you're pulling these levers in monetary policy, there's a lag in their effects. And so that's where you hear economists start to be concerned about what happens if we go too far. It's because if we're too aggressive, if the Fed is too aggressive in their efforts in tightening monetary policy, it won't come to fruition until 9 to 12 months later. And then that's when the overcorrection could actually hit us and cause the economy to cool and contract. So one of the measures that we've looked at is the yield curve. So the Federal Reserve Bank of New York uses a 3-month, 10-year yield curve to calculate the probability of a recession in the next 12 months. And the most recent readings show that this probability, it's starting to spike in mid-2023. So the current spreads indicate there's now a 47% chance of a recession by the end of 2023. And in other words, that means that we're nearly at the point where having a recession is equally likely as not having one. Next slide. As I mentioned, small businesses are really vulnerable, and inflation and the threat of a recession, they're creating headwinds for them that can threaten their future economic gains. So an increasing number of small businesses expect sales and business conditions to deteriorate this year in 2023. The Small Business Optimism Index, it's not fallen to these levels in roughly the past 10 years. And it now sits below the levels that we witnessed during the COVID-19 pandemic. So the map on the right, that is a representation of the clustering of micro businesses across the county. So we've defined these businesses as those with fewer than 10 employees and less than 1 million in revenue annually. So you can see these clusters, and which is based on the density of businesses in a location being higher than the noise that's outside of that cluster. So you can see the valley does have some clustering of micro businesses, and especially in Glendale and in Calabasas, and in Van Nuys too. So that was an extra piece of data I wanted to throw in there for you. Next slide, please. Okay, so this concludes my presentation today, and thank you again for making time and joining me with all of your busy schedules. If you're interested in taking a look at our forecast presentation, it is available on our website, www.laedc.org. That's our full forecast report. Our next upcoming event at LAEDC is the 2023 Select LA Investment, and every year my team puts together a report on FDI. So we will be releasing that at our next event. So, and that's it.
Shannon, that was amazing. Thank you so much. I mean, for us at the Alliance, very relevant and helpful information. I'd just like to open it up for any questions for Shannon or comments.
Donna, Freddie has his hand raised.
Hi, Freddie.
Hi, Donna. Shannon, great presentation, like always. I have two follow-up questions. The first is, do you anticipate any ripple effect with a lot of the layoffs that are happening in the IT sector in California, across the nation, with reference to the impact locally, even though it's one of the higher industry sectors in terms of jobs, specifically here in Glendale? Do you anticipate there being a ripple effect eventually?
Yeah, we are having layoffs, and of course, when the economy starts to cool, people, they're a little less, businesses will be more conservative in their growth. They'll start to look for ways to trim costs. And so that's kind of what you're seeing. Will it impact? It will slow the rate of growth, but I think there's so much happening across these tech industries that it will slow it. I don't think it's going to tip it, if that's what you're asking. But if we're looking at looking at tech jobs and the loss of those high skilled jobs, probably if you're looking for a comparison, it might be something similar to the dot-com burst. So we had a recession there that was related to companies going under, and a lot of highly skilled workers were back on the market. But if you compare that to some of our other recessions, the ability of those workers to be absorbed in other industries was higher. And so it didn't have that longer lasting impact. They were able to pivot and be absorbed in other industries that found use for them. So I would anticipate that would be somewhat similar to what we'll see moving forward.
Got it. Okay. And my next question is with regards to the slide on transportation modalities, to work. I'm curious from the LAEDC's perspective, have you seen any trends or dynamics with regards to work-life balance, working from home, incentives with employers, either still offering those different approaches as benefits, or just flexibility to work with them because it was magnified during the pandemic? Or are we starting to shift away from that because of productivity, or just returning back to an in-person type of modality?
So we actually with the whole transition to remote work that was necessitated by the pandemic, we saw a disruption. And I in my presentation, there were a few things that relate to this question. With people returning back to work, they're still on hybrid schedules. So if one of the things that we did in the forecast to understand what's happening with your office markets, which are impacted by people not returning back to work, was to look at daytime populations in these central business districts. So we were comparing, we were taking census blocks with the highest daytime populations prior to the pandemic, and then taking a look at where they were on a kind of like an annual basis, and where we were now in comparison. And so we're still showing that we're well below what our pre-pandemic activities were in these districts. And so that's having implications for your real estate, your commercial real estate market, specifically office. It's having implication for businesses that chose to site themselves in these districts to serve, and provide services to meet the demands of these daytime workers. And so those are not back to normal yet. And there's a possibility that there may not be, because there is a push by a lot of employees to have this flexibility still. And there's existing research. There's a couple, I think, is it Stanford or Berkeley? I forget which one now. We looked at it in our prior forecast in 2022 to try to gauge the workers' their perspective on remote work, and how, you know, if they valued it and how much. And so at that time, there was research showing that these workers would be willing to give up, say, 10% of their earnings a year in order to have that flexibility of having a remote work situation or a hybrid schedule. So while we haven't looked at it specifically, we've kind of looked around what's been happening as this nature of work has been changing and what those implications are.
Got it. Thank you.
Thank you, Freddie. Anyone else?
Hi, this is LaShonda Blevins. Thank you so much, Shannon. My question to the collective here is, how often do you guys partner with Antelope Valley with regards to the economic, downturn or upgrade with regards to job opportunities? I'm new to the area, and I'm working with Northrop Grumman Corporation, who has a very large population here in the Palmdale area. And they are hiring across every discipline. And so I'm trying to figure out how to partner with you guys to help support the economy growth, both in Antelope Valley and the San Fernando Valley there. Can someone help me with some type of insight into that? Thank you so much for the opportunity.
Well, LaShonda, thank you for, letting us know about Northrop Grumman. I think we can, unless someone wants to address LaShonda directly right now, Barry, I think we can get back to LaShonda and maybe schedule some time to discuss all of our resources and a way that we can work together to specifically, LaShonda, help you get integrated. And, Barry, is you think that's the right approach?
Yeah, and LaShonda will want to connect you with Sonia, the president of the Valley Economic Alliance, and I'm sure that there's a lot of partnerships that she'd be interested in developing.
That would be awesome. I appreciate that. Thank you so much. I'll stay on the line and share my contact information once we close here with the masses. Thank you.
It's wonderful, wonderful. Welcome.
Thank you again.
Yep.
Donna, this is Bob Rodine. I have a question.
Hi, Bob. Go ahead.
Okay. Shannon, a lot has been made of the press of companies departing California for other regions, Texas, Nevada, Arizona, places of that sort, and the South. I'm curious as to the impact of those departures on employment numbers. Some of the companies will take employees away and their job just goes to wherever the company's relocating to. But other people who are not taken with the companies are probably left unemployed in California. Can you give us any insight as to the magnitude of that impact on our employment numbers?
Yeah, so we have seen headquarters shift, but it doesn't mean that they're pulling up all their stakes and leaving California. So they're still leaving satellite operations behind. They're just moving their headquarters for better taxes, cheaper land, and lower labor costs for their headquarter operations. There's been a few of the real estate or accounting large corporations that have shifted. I'm thinking like CBRE, but because of their operations, they're kind of tied to our local area, so there's always going to be some activity. So they're not leaving entirely. So it will have some impact, but I think really it will, because it's spread across all of these industries, it's not going to show up in one to where it's going to make a difference. There's going to be residual activity here, because it's tied to what's happening in our local area. And then you'll have those impact multiple industries where there's also companies coming and citing their businesses here as well. So, you know, we shouldn't forget that we're a market of, you know, I think we're still close to 10 million people in Los Angeles County. It's a huge consumer market. You know, we are on the forefront of a lot of sustainability efforts, and so that's a large draw for companies to come to the region. It's also a large draw for companies to, you know, foreign direct investment to come and site here too, these operations, to create partnerships and enter into the American market. So there's a lot of other activity. Yes, we're losing these headquarters. Yes, it has an impact, but I don't think as large as some of the narrative that's been put out there makes it seem.
So the impact is perhaps more in the area of government revenue in terms of taxation than it is in terms of employment. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bob. Anyone else?
Yeah, Donna,
Hi,
Ajit
David.
has his hand raised.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Shannon, that was fantastic. I turned my video off. I was taking pictures of the slides. So that was really good. My question is about the skills that are needed today. And so give some context. I'm an empathy strategist. I'm known as a CFO that speaks empathy and KPIs, run a global L&D organization working with corporates and education systems, bringing strategic empathy. And we are seeing a huge demand for our work because of the adaptive leaders that need to be built into our workplaces, our school systems. I won't tell you our framework, but I'd love to hear from you. What are the skills that you are seeing that are most demanded with this new workforce? Because as we navigate such a complex environment, adding AI and then balloons flying over us, right? Every day we have something new. So what are you seeing out there, Shannon? Thank you.
So we actually took a look when we were putting this presentation, looked at some of the skill trees that were being requested by employers on these postings. And there were some commonalities, which is why I didn't break them out. And basically, what they were looking for was critical thinking and problem solving, computer skills, communication skills, leadership skills. So those were your top skill clusters that were really being sought out by employers.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Donna, could I?
Donna, just to give you a heads up too, we're running a bit behind on the schedule. I'm sorry to cut you off, David.
That's all right.
We are, but go ahead, David.
Yeah, just a real quick question. Shannon, great presentation. I was curious, we're getting ready to go after seed funding for a project to build 2 sites in Inglewood and someplace in the valley, probably NoHo area, on a entry-level program. One that all of the soft skills that were just mentioned over a 10-week period that really feed into the students, and they achieve 2 to 3 grade levels of math and reading improvements in 10 weeks. So it really gives a great entry-level person that has a mindset of success, if you will. But we don't really look at that. We look at all the things that's the next level. And we're addressing this because we think that if you're marginal in the foundational skills when you come out of school, or graduated from school, or dropped out of school over the last 30 years, there's a change that could be beneficial. But trying to identify some of the statistics that would validate the need for those skill sets in entry-level people is a little hard to find. And when you're going out and asking for a $1 or $2 million or more, you know, every little bit of data helps. Would that be something that we'd be able to have a chat with you on to see if there's something within your capabilities that you could help us quantify the need for that? even though it's in the millions?
Yeah, no, definitely. In fact, I'll put my email in the chat. If any of you have any other questions that you think of that you want to ask, or David, if you want to follow up and maybe schedule a conversation and we can talk about maybe there's something we can put together for you. So I will put my email in the chat and feel free to contact me.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. And I know we can listen to Shannon and ask her a ton of questions. So Barry, I forgot we had a whole other agenda going on. So I'm going to thank Shannon, thank everyone, and turn it back over to you, Barry.
Yeah, thank you, Donna. Wonderful presentation. Thank you so much, Shannon, and everybody for the conversation. There are a few other items. Normally we do some self-introductions, and I would like to just take a minute to run through that really quick. If you don't mind introducing yourself and your company or your organization, and all people out to kind of make this go along more quickly. Freddie, you're the first on my screen.
Thank you, Dr. Gibbons. Freddie Salcedo, I'm Dean with Career Education and Workforce Development at Glendale Community College. Thank you.
Thank you, Freddie. Bob? You're muted, Bob. Bob, we'll circle back with you in just a second. You're still muted. Carrie Ann. Carrie Ann? Oh, I think your microphone's not working. Bob, I see you're unmuted.
Yes, I'm Bob Rodin. My firm is the Polaris Group. I do financial and economic consulting. A lot of it is in the aviation industry here in the San Fernando Valley. And I sit on the Alliance Economic Development Committee, as well as the board. And I'm delighted that you have had this presentation this morning. I thought that Shannon did a stupendous job. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Bob. Carrie Ann, I see you're unmuted.
Yeah, well, can you hear me though? Can you hear me? Okay. So yeah, I'm Carrie Ann Wybrew. I'm a Fuse Executive Fellow working with the Los Angeles College of Nursing and Allied Health.
Awesome, thank you. Stephen.
That would be me. That would be me.
Sure, we'll do Stephen Roy, then Stephen Contreras.
Oh, okay. Stephen Roy, I am the Chief Operating Officer and Chief Compliance Officer for Camby's Financial. We specialize in a relatively narrow niche of financial planning, dealing with primarily donors, their private foundations, trusts, and the states.
Awesome, thank you, Stephen. And Stephen.
Good morning, Stephen Contreras, District Manager for Wells Fargo. My branches are in the heart of the San Fernando Valley, in the northern part of the San Fernando Valley, extending from about Chatsworth to Pacoima, and some in the southern part of the Santa Clarita Valley.
Awesome, thank you. Ajit.
Hi, Ajit Dadani, founder Empathify U. We deliver workshop keynotes and strategy sessions for organizations to embrace empathy as the superpower to impact culture and business KPIs.
Awesome, thank you. Jane.
Hi, I'm Jane Rosenthal-Deacon, Assistant Dean for Program Development at CSUN. So always looking for opportunities to expand the educational side of workforce capacity development.
Awesome. Erica, who was running the show.
Oh, thank you very much. I'm Erica Gass with the Valley Economic Alliance. So happy to be here. Thank you.
Thanks, Erica. Lilith.
Yes, hi everyone. I'm Lilith with New Gen Global Leaders. I'm executive and leadership coach and a trainer. I do corporate training, sales, customer service. My motto is developing people and profits with integrity.
Awesome. Forrest.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Forrest Hill. Thank you. I'm a divisional sales manager for Bank of the West, now a subsidiary of Bank of Montreal, effective March 1st. So excited about that. Actually, no, February 1st, forgive me. And my area covers all the way from basically the southern half of the state, from north of Fresno all the way down to San Diego. And I'm also on the board for the Economic Alliance. So thank you, everyone.
Awesome. Thanks, Forrest. David.
Hi, David Goodrow. I'm president of the Small Manufacturers Institute, also a board member with the California Metals Coalition and the San Fernando Valley National Tooling Machinery Association.
Awesome. Thank you, David. David, if you don't mind posting your email, I need to follow up. I want to follow up with you on something with related to manufacturing.
Great.
Skylar.
Hi, my name is Skylar Pyab, and I'm Jackie Irwin's new field representative. She's an assembly member in the area.
Awesome. Thank you, Skylar. Is it Shani or Shani?
It's Shani, sounds like Danny. Hi, I am an instructional coach for our career and college readiness programs at Options for Youth, and we have 4 locations in the San Fernando Valley. We're in the Encino, Arleta, we're in the Reseda Northridge area, and we actually have one in Simi Valley. So we're a workforce innovation school, so we're looking for opportunities to partner with businesses to get students more exposed to careers that are right here in the Valley.
Awesome. JB.
Good morning. I'm JB Baraka with the Los Angeles Regional Consortium contractor, coordinating all partnerships, employer partnerships, and engagement efforts for the region.
Awesome. Harry. We'll come back to Harry. LaShonda.
Hi, I'm LaShonda Blevins. I'm with North Grumman Corporation, where I'm a people leader within their global supply chain organization, where we are located here in Palmdale, California. So again, that's the Antelope Valley. And we're here to help, grow and expand the manufacturing work that we're doing here across quite a few different professional disciplines. So I've heard a lot. I'm looking forward to speaking with quite a few of you. Thank you so much.
Awesome. Thanks, LaShonda. Lindsay.
Hi, I'm Lindsay Grant. I also work for Options for Youth out in the San Fernando Valley and Simi Valley. I personally try to help kids get jobs, so any information we can get on the ground floor is amazing. So thanks for having me.
Thanks, Lindsay. Janet.
Hello, how's everybody doing? Janet Marinaccio, President and CEO of MEND, Meet Each Need with Dignity, the largest poverty alleviation organization in the San Fernando Valley. And we also have a job placement preparation program. So interested to hear everything today.
Yeah, thank you. Wonderful program, Janet. Narine.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Marina McKeegan, Chair, Assistant Vice President of the Los Angeles Regional Consortium, which is the LA19 community colleges.
Good to see you, Narine.
Great to see you. Well, thank you.
Emma.
Emma Sanchez, and I work for the Verdugo Workforce Development Board as a consultant. I'm working on apprenticeships and rapid response in business services.
Awesome. Thank you, Emma. Veronica.
Hi, good morning. Veronica Romero. I'm with PacFed Benefit Administrators. We're located here in Glendale. I'm also a board member of the Alliance and a board member of the Verdugo Workforce Development Board as well. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you. Gwen.
Yes, my name is Gwen Gatson Long. I'm with Avas Career Academy. We train insurance, we're training insurance jobs and helping students prepare for insurance exams.
Awesome. Amy. Let me circle back to Amy. Juan. And I'll circle back to Juan. Edith.
Good morning, Edith Aristizabal. I'm a community health manager with Kaiser Permanente, supporting the areas of Woodland Hills and Ventura County. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you. Sam.
Sam Hughes, President of Economic Resources Corporation. Pleased to hear the presentation by Shannon. We recently purchased property in the San Fernando Valley and looking to attract solid commercial enterprises to our assets. So pleased to be here.
Yeah, thank you, Sam. Nyla.
Good morning, everyone. Nyla Jolly-Delfrez. I'm the interim director of the CSUN Career Center, the centralized career center, serving all currently enrolled students and alumni, connecting them with folks like you to so they can express their gifts and talents. Thank you.
Awesome. Go Matadors.
Yes.
Did I miss anybody?
Yes, Barry, you missed me. My name is Juan Millan. I am with the EDD's Labor Market Information Division. I'm the official scorekeeper of the unemployment rate and industry employment numbers for Los Angeles County, and I'm glad to be here.
Wonderful. Thank you, Juan. Good to see you again. Well, thank you all. We only have a couple of minutes left. I'm glad that you all able to connect. And I'm glad we took a minute for everyone to introduce themselves. We certainly have an amazing group of folks here. I will just share a couple of other things that we had on the agenda, but I'm just going to talk about it really quickly. The first one is we're doing an employer needs survey. I'm going to share a screen, and I'm not going to click through the whole thing, but just to give you a sense of it. It's in draft form. If you have any feedback, we'll maybe be able to get a link out to it, but we'll be sending out the whole survey soon, where we're asking folks about their hiring plans and trying to get some more specifics on what they are. I'm going to stop sharing. We're going to follow up that survey with an interview of major employers again to find out more information about their hiring needs in the next couple of years, as well as what specific skills that they're looking for. I appreciate the comments that folks made earlier about working remotely and soft skills. We'll see if we can include those in the interview, certainly, if not the survey itself. So thank you for that feedback. If you do have any other suggestions that you can think of off the cuff, please feel free to put them in the chat, and we'll see if we can get those built in. Donna, do you want to talk a little bit about the directory, and then we'll close it out with just a very brief update on the talent market strategy?
Real quickly, everyone, the Alliance has an online leadership directory we would love you to register with. It allows all of our educational institutions to get access to you when they need a speaker in the classroom or some guidance on which curriculum they should be developing. It really is aligned with helping to build a pipeline of talent, starting with the education process that matches the demand from all of our employers. And we really would love this, workforce of the future directory built with all of our local professionals like everyone on this call, so that we could have access to you. And it just, wouldn't be a lot of work, but just to get your opinion, maybe some, like I said, some classroom speakers. So that is online, and maybe Erica, you can post that if you wouldn't mind, but you can just go to the TVEA website and sign up there. Thank you.
Yeah, just put it in the chat also.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, Barry.
Yeah, thank you, Donna. We do have, as part of the Education and Workforce Development Group, we also have an effort, talent market strategic brief. And just a couple of updates about that. Dr. Jan Searcy from CSUN is working on the history of the San Fernando Valley workforce. We're also, Nathan is working on supply demand for workers, getting some more data on that, analyzing it. And Donna, you and some other Valley Economic Alliance folks are pulling together some case examples. And then finally, the vision for the future for this effort is to synthesize all of that information and weaving it into a narrative on the role of education from pre-K all the way through 16, so through college, and how the education can help impact and develop the workforce. So look for more information about that coming out in the next couple of months, as well as the survey. So we kept you a little bit long, a couple of minutes over, but we do appreciate you. We appreciate the time together. And Shannon, again, thank you for that absolutely wonderful presentation. I saw the economic forecast. That was wonderful, but it was terrific to see some Valley specific numbers. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everybody. Hope you have an amazing rest of your day. We'll look forward to seeing you at the next meeting.
Thank you,
Great meeting.
everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you so
Bye,
much.
everybody.
Bye.